I've got some questions here now from people who work for one of our sponsors, CEPSA. So you can pay attention and see what you think of these. A guy called Antonio Alonso Gonzalez.
Oh, jeez.
It's all right. You don't have to repeat his name. He's got a question about telemetry. As far as you know, is that our telemetry and that of other teams, is it all pretty similar these days? And how much of an influence does it have on your race weekend?
Telemetry is something we look at constantly over the race weekend. Even before the race weekend, the engineers will probably send us some telemetry from the previous season, just for us to have a look. We can figure out by looking at that what corner speeds we'll be taking and what gear we'll be using, and just sort of gets us familiar with the circuit. So it's definitely something we look at a lot, and we compare it, between teammates. So if my teammate's quicker than me on some areas, I'll see that from the telemetry, and then I'll try and obviously learn from that. And then between the teams, I'm quite sure we're all using the same system, so it's pretty standard throughout all of F1. We can see pretty much all the same things. All the cars have particular sensors on them which treat the speed and the gear and all the basics, with much more technical stuff. So no, it should be the same for all 24 drivers.
Okay. Next question comes from Cesar Galera Villa Escusa. Excuse my Spanish pronunciation.
These are short names. It's not Tom Jones or anyone, is it?
No, they seem to like some long names there. We'll have to give you a longer Spanish name, I think, maybe, Daniel. Anyway, he wants to know what part of a modern F1 car has the greatest influence over its performance when it comes to trying to win a GP.
Well, I think, the first thing you need is reliability. I think it's as important as speed, because you can have the quickest car out there with the most downforce, but if it's breaking down before the race ends, then it's not going to do you very good. So I think reliability is a big one, which we've seen this year has played a role. We saw it last weekend. I think Hamilton had the lead, and reliability let him down. He was probably going to go on to win it, or at least podium. So that's important. In terms of pure performance, I think it all adds up, but I think the floor of the car, that produces a lot of your downforce, and that shapes a lot of the balance of the rest of the car, where the parts go, where the exhaust flows, etc. So I'll say the floor is definitely one of the big ones. The floor diffuser, as it's called,
all right.
Sometimes.
Given these guys work for CEPSA, it's not surprising we've got a question about fuel next. Pedro Villar Abetua wants to know if the fuel used in Formula One has changed a lot in the past few years. Well, obviously you haven't been around that much, so maybe you don't know that answer, but what can you tell us about fuel?
Yeah, as far as I know, there hasn't been too much change. I mean, obviously, a few years ago there was refueling during the race. I mean, that's probably the most significant thing I can think of, and now we top the cars more or less up to the brim, which is about 140 kilos, give or take.
Yeah.
And we go the whole race with that fuel, and obviously try and end the race with as little as possible. But everyone always gets fuel sampled after the race to make sure we're using legal fuel, and we have enough in the tank to supply them for a sample. But yeah, in terms of the rest, I think everyone's running the same, and it's all controlled very, very heavily. So besides the refueling, I would say the actual fuel itself hasn't changed too much.
Okay. Final question now. Like I said, these are all from people who work for CEPSA, so there's a Spanish twist to this one from Jesus Cogoludo Pereira, who wants to know if you think Fernando Alonso will win the championship.
I think he's definitely got a good chance. He's definitely got experience and confidence on his side. So I think he's this year he's done a very good job to be leading the championship now. He's been very consistent, and it's the way a lot of people win championships is always being there, always being in the points, and I think his experience is speaking for that. The car is getting better. I think Ferrari have improved it, and he's probably had a pretty big influence to that as well. So I think if he keeps chipping away and getting some podiums, he's probably the favourite if that's to be. So he's won them before as well, which helps. So the confidence and the rest of it he's got on his side. I think now, the rest is probably up to him and the team how much they progress for the rest of the season. But I think at the moment he's the favourite.
Okay, well, thanks for interrupting your time at home to talk to us, and we'll see you there. Thanks, Daniel. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. See you out there.